My name is Hannah Scott. I'm 34 years old, and until recently, I believed that if you built your life carefully enough, nothing really collapsed without warning. Not overnight. Not without cracks you could hear if you paid attention. I work as a logistics coordinator for a medical supply company. My world runs on structure, systems, timelines, predictable outcomes. I don't guess. I don't improvise. I build things that hold. Or at least, I thought I did. Daniel Parker is 30, my boyfriend. Or, he was. He's the kind of man people notice the second he walks into a room. Easy smile, confident posture, always aware, almost instinctively, of how he's being perceived. He works in event management for a luxury hotel downtown, which fits him perfectly. Everything in his world revolves around image, presentation, control. We had been together 4 years, engaged for 11 months. Our wedding was 6 weeks away. On paper, everything looked perfect. Beach engagement photos, invitations sent, hotel block secured, a waterfront ballroom reserved for a Saturday in May. People said we looked stable. We weren't. Somewhere along the way, the relationship stopped being about us and started being about how we looked to everyone else. Daniel stopped talking about a future. He started talking about aesthetics, about lighting, about how the photos would feel. And then came the smaller things. His phone always face down. Late-night work meetings that stretched past midnight. That tone in his voice whenever I asked simple questions. Like I was the problem for noticing patterns. I solve problems for a living. And the details were getting loud. One Thursday night, my friend Drew texted me. He manages private events at a rooftop lounge downtown. "You here tonight?" he asked. "No," I replied. There was a pause. Then, "You might want to call me." So I did. He didn't drag it out. He told me Daniel was there, with a woman. Not networking. Not casual. Not something you could explain away with context. He said they were tucked into a booth, close enough that if it were him, he'd want to know. Then he sent me a photo. I stared at it longer than I expected to. The woman was Chloe, Daniel's ex-girlfriend, the one he always described as ancient history. Harmless. In the photo, her hand was resting against his neck, his face buried in her hair. Not subtle, not ambiguous, not fixable. I didn't call him, didn't send a message, didn't give him the satisfaction of a reaction. Instead, I walked into the kitchen, opened my laptop, and started pulling up every contract tied to the wedding. Ballroom deposit, $4,800. Photographer, $2,400. Florist, $1,650. String quartet, $900. Cake, $780. Flights for the honeymoon, booked under my account. Taxes and fees, $1,320. Most of it ran through me, because I had the stronger credit, because I handled logistics, because I built systems that held. Daniel handled the aesthetic. I handled reality. He came home at 12:18 a.m. Keys dropped on the counter. Shoes kicked off like nothing had shifted, like the world was exactly as he left it. I was sitting at the kitchen island, laptop open, phone in my hand, the photo ready. He saw my face first, then the screen, and something in his expression changed. Not guilt, recognition. He knew. I slid the phone toward him. He looked down at it. For a second, his shoulders dropped. Not from shame, from inconvenience. "It's not what it looks like," he said automatically. I held his gaze. "It looks like you and Chloe at Harbor 9. He exhaled, put the phone down, crossed his arms, and then he said the sentence that ended everything for me. "Okay, yes, I crossed a line, but if you cancel this wedding over one stupid thing, you'll ruin everything." Not us, not me, everything. The venue, the deposits, the guests, the image. I felt something inside me go completely still. "Are you still seeing her?" I asked. "That's not the point." That was all I needed. I closed the laptop slowly. "The wedding is off." He blinked at me like I'd broken some unspoken agreement. Like I wasn't allowed to say that out loud. "Canceling this wedding will ruin me," he said. I nodded once. "You should have thought of that before you lied." Then I turned the laptop back toward me, and I sent one email to the ballroom coordinator, the photographer, the florist, the quartet, the bakery, the hotel manager, the travel agent. I copied Daniel. Subject line, "Immediate freeze on wedding contracts." I wrote it clean. Direct. The wedding was canceled. All authorizations connected to my accounts were revoked. No changes were to be accepted unless confirmed by me in writing. Any impersonation attempts were to be documented and forwarded. I hit send while he was still standing there. That's when he panicked. "No, Hannah, don't do that." He moved around the island, reaching toward the laptop. I closed it and stood up. Suddenly, the story started changing. It was just one mistake. We've been distant. You're overreacting. I didn't respond. I just held out my hand. Give me the ring. That was the moment it became real. He hesitated, then slowly pulled it off, set it on the counter like I was the one humiliating him. And then he started listing everything I was doing to him. His sister's travel plans, his mother's expectations, his reputation. I looked at him. You handled the humiliation part yourself. He left around 1 a.m, 2 bags, his laptop, silence trailing behind him. By 1:45, the replies started coming in. Ballroom, contract frozen. Photographer, confirmed. Florist, acknowledged. Hotel, block released. Travel agent, partial credit available. My phone started lighting up right after that. Savannah called 6 times. Tyler texted, be an adult and talk to him. A bridesmaid I barely knew messaged, you don't destroy a man's life over one mistake. I blocked all 3. At 2:11, Daniel texted, we can still fix this if you stop trying to punish me. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I put the phone down. Because that line told me everything. He thought consequences were punishment. Before bed, I closed the joint wedding account. $6,240 total. I transferred my $4,900 back, left his $1,340 untouched. Emailed him the statement. No anger, just math. I slept better that night than I had in months. The next morning, my mother called because Daniel had already reached her. She didn't ask for the dramatic version. She didn't ask what people were saying. She asked one question. Did he cheat? Yes, I said. There was a pause. Then she said, thank God you found out before you married him. That was it. Perfect. By noon, I had returned the dress appointment deposits I could recover, canceled the limo, changed the garage code, and packed the rest of Daniel's things into labeled bins. He wanted a breakdown. He got a checklist. 4 days later, Daniel was still acting like the wedding was paused, not dead. First came the flying monkeys. Savannah texted from a new number saying Daniel hadn't eaten, hadn't slept, and might do something drastic if I didn't call. I took a screenshot. Then I called the non-emergency line and requested a welfare check at Savannah's apartment. If someone hints at self-harm, I take it seriously. I just don't negotiate through it. An hour later, Daniel texted me furious. How dare you send police here? I was fine. I replied once. Then no one should have implied otherwise. Blocked again. That afternoon, he showed up at my townhouse with his Aunt Melissa and tried the old garage code. The doorbell camera caught everything. Daniel leaning into the camera like he was the reasonable one. Melissa muttering that I was dramatic. I opened the door with the chain on and handed out 2 labeled bins. That was all he had left inside. So that's it, Daniel said. 4 years and I get handed my life through a cracked door? I looked at him through the gap. You stopped being my fiancé before I started treating you like one. Melissa tried to soften her voice. People make mistakes, honey. They do, I said. And other people decide what they're willing to live with. Then I shut the door. Clip saved. That evening, Monica from the ballroom forwarded me something that changed the temperature of the whole situation. Daniel had sent her an email from a fake Gmail account using my name with extra numbers at the end. The message said, Hi, Monica. This is Hannah. Things have calmed down. Please reinstate all services and keep the original payment method on file. Monica only caught it because the sender address was wrong, and because Daniel spelled my name signature differently than I do. I thanked her, asked her to preserve everything. Save the email in 3 places. Cheating was one thing. Trying to impersonate me financially after I canceled the wedding was another. Then Daniel took it online. Nothing direct, just vague victim posts. Some people want to see you beg before they show mercy. Imagine throwing away a whole future because your pride got bruised. His friends filled the comments with sympathy, heart emojis, and fake outrage. I ignored it until a mutual friend named Jenna texted me. She said Daniel was telling people I ended things because he talked to an ex at a bar. So I sent Jenna the rooftop photo. Then Daniel's message about being ruined if I canceled. Jenna replied almost immediately. That is not what he told people. I figured, I wrote. The surprising part was the call from Denise, Daniel's mother. She said, I want the truth from you, not from the circus. So I gave it to her. The photo, the confrontation, the cancellation, the fake email. Then I forwarded the screenshots. There was a long silence. Then Denise said, I raised a son, not a hurricane. She told me Daniel had framed the whole thing as me using money to control him. But after reading that messages, she understood why I pulled the plug. Then she asked one thing. Don't turn this into a public online war. I'm not interested in public revenge, I said. I want private peace. She exhaled. Good, because he's about to learn the difference between embarrassment and accountability. That call mattered. So did the fact that my actual life immediately got calmer. I went back to the gym, started running in the mornings again. At work, my director asked me to lead a software rollout for our Orlando branch. It came with a possible $5,500 raise if it went well. I took it. Friday night, I had wings with Drew and watched a game instead of pretending my life was normal. Funny thing about chaos leaving your house. The silence feels expensive at first. Then it feels like wealth. 3 weeks later, Daniel stopped trying to save the wedding and started trying to control the story. That's when he got mean. He showed up at my office first. Our building has badge access, security, and a front desk that doesn't tolerate confusion. I was in a meeting when reception messaged me. A man downstairs said he was my fiancé and needed 5 minutes. Not ex. Fiancé. I stared at the message for a second, then typed back. Ex-boyfriend. Please have security escort him out. I didn't go downstairs. I didn't give him the moment. He left a gift bag anyway. Inside was a bottle of wine and a note. Let's stop punishing each other and talk like adults. I took a photo, then put both items in my trunk. By then, I had an evidence folder. Digital and paper. Texts. Emails. Call logs. Screenshots. Vendor confirmations. Doorbell footage. Dates. Times. Everything. A few nights later, he tried something else. Unknown number. 1:12 a.m. We need to talk. I'm late. I stared at the message. Daniel and I hadn't been together in over 9 weeks. I replied once. We have not been together in over 9 weeks. Do not contact me again. His response came almost instantly. Wow, so that's who you are. Blocked. The next crisis came through Tyler. He called from his work phone. Said Daniel had collapsed at urgent care and kept asking for me. I asked which clinic. He hesitated. That told me everything. If this is real, I said calmly, the staff will handle it. Then I hung up. But I still called the clinic network afterward. No patient by his name had checked into any location that day. That was when I stopped thinking of this as emotional fallout and started treating it as escalation. I hired a lawyer, Grant Holloway, local civil attorney. $750 for a consult and a cease and desist letter. I brought him the folder. He went through it slowly, page by page. Then he looked up at me. He's not heartbroken, Grant said. He's escalating. The letter went out the next morning. No direct or indirect contact. No workplace visits. No impersonation. No defamatory statements. Preserve all records. It should have ended there. It didn't. 2 nights later, around 8:30, there was a knock on my door. 2 officers. Daniel had reported that I was withholding personal property. Family heirlooms. Cash gifts. Translation. When manipulation didn't work, he tried authority. I invited them in. Opened the folder. Walked them through everything. Ring receipt. Inventory list. Doorbell footage of him collecting his belongings. Screenshots. And the plastic bin of unopened gift envelopes I was preparing to return. One officer looked at the documentation and nodded. You handled this correctly. This is a civil matter. They left. I added another line to the spreadsheet. That same weekend, I did something normal. I went on a date. His name was Ethan, 32, a physical therapist, a friend of one of the project managers at my office. We met for dinner in Hyde Park. It was easy. Conversation flowed. No tension. No performance. No second-guessing every sentence. For the first time in weeks, I felt light. I made one mistake. I parked where my car could be seen from the street because Daniel saw us. Later, I found out Savannah had seen the restaurant's social media story, spotted my car, and texted him. Mine was documentation. Theirs was surveillance. Daniel came through the patio gate like he belonged there. White shirt. Calm expression. Like he was walking into his own narrative. He sat down at our table without asking. Looked at Ethan. You should ask her how fast she replaced me. Ethan didn't react. He just looked at me, waiting. Grounded. I met Daniel's eyes. I'll leave. He smiled slightly. So I'm the villain, but you get to move on already? Leave, I said again. Instead, he reached for my water glass and tipped it. Not enough to cause damage, just enough to create a scene. The manager came over, then security, then police. Daniel switched instantly. Apologetic, emotional. Said he just wanted closure. The officer looked at me. Do you want him trespassed from the property? Yes, I said. Done. When I walked Ethan to his car, I apologized. He shook his head. You didn't bring the chaos, he said. It followed you. Accurate. The next morning, Denise called again. She told me Chloe was gone. The moment the wedding fully collapsed, she disappeared. Whatever Daniel thought he was building with her, it didn't survive reality. Denise also said she had corrected several relatives who were repeating Daniel's version of the story. She used a simpler one. He cheated. She ended it. He didn't accept it. Simple, honest, useful. Work got better at the same time. The Orlando project was running smoothly. My director started hinting at a promotion. Operations manager, if I kept this up. And for the first time in a long time, my life felt like it was moving forward, not something I had to defend. 2 months after the night I sent that email, I saw Daniel in a courtroom instead of on a screen. By then, it wasn't about the breakup anymore. It was about the pattern. The office visit, the fake pregnancy scare, Tyler's false medical emergency, the impersonation attempt, the police report, the restaurant scene. It wasn't one moment. It was a campaign. So I filed for a protective injunction, not because I thought he would hurt me, because I was done leaving space for him to keep rewriting my life. The hearing was on a Tuesday morning, Hillsborough County. I showed up in a navy dress with a binder in my hands. Tabs, dates, screenshots, email headers, certified mail receipts, doorbell stills, the restaurant incident report, the note from the gift bag. Everything. Organized, contained, controlled. Daniel showed up in a light sweater, hair carefully styled, expression softened into something almost fragile, like he was preparing for sympathy. His attorney spoke first. My client has been emotional after a painful breakup. He's only been seeking closure. Grant didn't argue. He just handed the binder to the judge. And then we waited. The judge read quietly, page after page. He read the fake email Daniel sent pretending to be me. He read the late-night message about being late. He read Tyler's urgent care lie. He read the note from the office gift bag. Then he looked up at Daniel. After she told you not to contact her, and after legal counsel told you not to contact her, why did you continue? Daniel swallowed. His voice softened. I loved her. She moved on too fast. I just wanted one honest conversation. The judge didn't react emotionally. He just looked at him for a long second. Your conduct is making you look unstable. That was the line of the day. Clear. Final. Unavoidable. He granted the order. 1 year. No direct contact. No third-party contact except through attorneys. Stay 300 feet away from my home and workplace. No social media references that could reasonably identify me. Just like that, it was over. Outside the courtroom, Daniel glanced back once. Like maybe I'd soften. Like maybe I'd feel something seeing him there. I didn't. Grant handled the rest. The engagement ring was returned through his attorney that same week. Signed. Documented. Closed. 10 days later, someone tried to reach me through a burner account, one of Daniel's cousins, saying he was telling people I had weaponized money in the courts to silence him. I took a screenshot, sent it to Grant. He emailed Daniel's attorney. The account disappeared within an hour. And then, nothing. No more calls. No more surprise appearances. No more emotional storms knocking at my door. A month after the hearing, I was officially promoted. Operations manager, better salary, bigger office, a parking spot that didn't require circling the block. But none of that felt as good as something simpler. Walking into my own home and feeling calm. Ethan and I kept seeing each other. Slowly. Normally. No pressure. No performance. He texted first half the time. He listened. He didn't try to control the narrative of anything. A couple of weeks ago, he came over, looked around my living room and said, "It feels peaceful here." It does. The unopened wedding gifts were returned to senders with short notes. The honeymoon credits turned into a quiet weekend trip with friends instead of a staged romantic escape. Daniel's embarrassment, his family's reactions, his version of events. None of that belonged to me anymore. My mom sent me one message after the injunction was granted. Best money you ever saved was the wedding you didn't have. She was right. And here's what I learned about revenge. Most people think it has to be loud, public, cinematic. Mine wasn't. Mine looked like calm. It looked like documentation. It looked like hitting send on one email before he could stand at the altar and smile through a lie I was paying for. Daniel thought embarrassment would trap me, that the deposits, the guests, the image would matter more than the truth. He was wrong. The best revenge I got was letting him stand in the reality he created. No filters, no edits, no audience to manipulate. He cheated. I found out. I canceled the wedding. He spiraled when he couldn't control the story anymore. And then a judge told him to stop. After that, the peace came back. And that was enough for me.